Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So today we're going to continue the series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, and we got 3 more Namco System 1 games coming your way this evening, because last Friday, Jotego and his team released 3 more games working on the Namco System 1 core. We showed it off a week ago, and we definitely talked about it last October when it started playing Splatterhouse, still my favorite game on the board, so 3 more games is definitely nothing to scoff at. Before we get too far involved, it'd be a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But the 3 games we have here, the number 1 by far in my opinion is Marching Maze. This is an isometric platform running gun game, and it is one of the best games that was on the System 1 board in my opinion. It's got a really fun story and intro, and we actually get into the gameplay. This is just an absolute metric ton of fun. It's very easy to start. The first level is not going to challenge you too much, but as you get further into this game, it's going to become exceedingly difficult, it's going to be challenging, and it's going to absolutely get its hooks into you, and you're going to want to play and see the end of it. This is probably my second favorite game on the Namco System 1 board after Splatterhouse, which is really funny because obviously Splatterhouse being a violent horror themed beat 'em up, this is completely the opposite as far as the theme is concerned. But you'll see there we did get knocked off the playfield, which will reset your character. If anything hits you, you're going to get bobbled around, and if you fall off the platform, that is it. You take a death and you have to restart. That's where all the fun in this game comes from, not just navigating the world and shooting things, but making sure you put yourself into a safe place. And with the isometric viewpoint, it's going to take you a minute or two to understand exactly how to maneuver your character around the screen and stay safe and not die. But I love the boss battles. They're so interesting, and you'll see here that you don't really take damage in the traditional sense when you get hit. You just get knocked around. So you need to find a place that's safe to stand and be able to avoid the projectiles while also putting damage into the bosses. You want to stay towards the center mass of any platform you're on, giving yourself at least 1 or 2 hits before you fall off. And you'll see right there, straight up to the edge, which is able to recover, and big thanks to Andy D for helping with footage on this capture as well. And that's where the fun in Marching Maze comes from. It's frantic, it's hectic, it's fast paced, and you're always like 1 hit away from complete destruction in the game. And you'll see here as we get into the next stage, the platforms get narrower, the obstacles get greater, and getting hit by anything is going to be an absolute death sentence. You're going down into that pit. But that's where the fun in this game comes from. It's the challenge. It's so unique and different. That's why I really just do love this title. And it's one that I feel like not everyone is going to have played. Sure, pretty much everyone has played Splatterhouse on some sort of system, but on the Namco System 1, I feel like Marching Maze definitely is going to be a deeper cut. You get so many fun power-ups as well that are going to aid you throughout your journey, but you'll see here as you get further into this level, suddenly there's only 1 platform that you can stand on. It's 1 unit wide, but you do get some recovery power-ups as well. You'll see there we floated back up with a balloon, and you can increase your shot as well. This is just a straight up arcade classic. I think it's a 10 out of 10, and the best version to play is on Namco System 1, but the Sharp X68000 port is extremely close as well. But obviously that core not being done for MiSTer, being able to play Marching Maze today on the Namco System 1 core, 10 out of 10, absolutely love it. I think you guys will too. Now let's move over to Shadowland. This is a platformer, and it's going to be similar yet different to Marching Maze. You're going to see at the top you actually get this whole inventory power screen. You've got your money and power up there, and you also have a map of the area that you're on. This is basically playing an ultra wide screen, except it's only using half of a 4x3 screen, which is a very interesting concept, and it does have some light horror elements. Kind of feels like the cartoonish platforming version of Splatterhouse as well. This is another classic. I'm not putting it up there with Splatterhouse and Marching Maze, but I would say it's 1 tier below that. It's a fun platformer, gives you a good amount of challenge, has some fun graphics, and it's another game that's available to play today on MiSTer FPGA, and we always love getting new arcade games. This one's definitely difficult as well. Dying means a lot in this game, and it's going to take you a decent amount of learning to actually be able to see the credits and see how the game ends, but you're going to be having fun the entire way through, and you'll see if you slow down a little bit too much, other enemies are going to come out and try to attack you. Awesome soundtrack as well. Listen, and I'll be right back. classic Namco music and classic Namco fun, and it seems like Jotego and his team are on an absolute tear in the month of April and May. Obviously it's May now, but we got a lot of releases in May as well, and it seems like the Namco System 1 core is getting close to buttoned up. We have so many games on this, starting with Splatterhouse back in Halloween of last year. This has definitely expanded a ton, and I know a lot of people love his multi-arcade cores as well, because you get so many good games. It looks like he's working on System 18 as well on the Sega side of things. Hopefully we'll see a beta for that soon. I can be able to talk about it on the channel. But again, I just love getting new arcade cores, and I knew you guys do as well. The arcade side of things for MiSTer is so much fun. Of course we have all of the consoles, all of the handhelds, but there's still so many incredible arcade games that can run on MiSTer FPGA that we just don't have yet. So being able to get 3 new Namco System 1 games, definitely nothing to complain about whatsoever. And again, something like Shadowland here, definitely a classic. It feels kind of like a throwback game. It's got that late 80s, early 90s Namco vibe to it, but there's just so much fun to be had here, and I love that the frogs actually rain down, almost like in biblical times you get frog rain here. This is just a fun one to play. I definitely recommend you check it out, but tell me down below, have you ever played this game before? I feel like this one's going to be another deep cut, and maybe even less people are going to know about this than March and Maze, but everyone should know about Shadowland. It's classic Namco, and Namco definitely made a metric crap ton of awesome arcade games in the 2D era, even if I feel like they're mostly known for stuff like Ridge Racer and Time Crisis once you get to the 3D boards. But they were definitely releasing a ton of awesome 2D games, and Shadowland's going to be another one you can play on MiSTer FPGA today. Another game is going to be Boxy Boy. Now this is a puzzle game, and people either love or hate this genre. I always have a fun time with it, and this one has a particular fun flair as well. You basically have to move the 4 boxes to the 4 blue icons. That is how you pass a level and move on to the next level. But where the real fun in something like this comes in is just how mind-bendingly difficult it can get in later stages. Sure, the first couple of levels are going to be very self-explanatory. You're going to know exactly what you're supposed to do, and you're going to have a fun time doing it. But as the levels go on, the patterns and configurations are going to get more confusing, and you're really going to have to think long and hard about how you move everything around in a world. But that is why I do love games like this. For every single awesome fighting game, beat 'em up, shmup, or otherwise we have on MiSTer FPGA, sometimes you just want to play a game like Puzzle Bobble or Boxy Boy here, where you just get to kind of zen out and think about what it is you're actually trying to do. There is a step here, you'll see in the bottom left hand corner, there's so many steps that you take, and that is going to articulate your score, and there's going to be a high score as well. So sometimes it's not just about if you can beat the level, it's if you can beat the level in underneath the amount of steps needed to set a new record. And that's where games like this really do become fun and addictive. It makes you think about how to kind of move around the level and how to best lay it out, because sometimes all you need to do is put 2 boxes in the right spot. But you'll see here the high score is 72, and that means that this is going to take a lot of maneuvering around to get correct. If you move a box into a corner, you're absolutely screwed. If you do anything wrong, you basically lose the level and you need to reset. That is where the fun in this game comes from. The thinking, the using your brain to try to figure out exactly what you're supposed to be doing and when. Trust me, this does become highly addicting, and you'll see here, after a certain amount of steps, you finally figure it out. You're getting closer to the solution, and it finally opens itself up to you, and the feeling of satisfaction is amazing. And you'll see here, only a couple steps over the actual best time ever. And don't forget, there's so many other Namco System 1 games that have been released in the last 2 weeks. This core went from playing just a couple games to playing over a dozen games in the last 30 days, and that's always so much fun to see, and I can't wait to see what Jotego and his team bring us next, because they've been, like I said earlier, absolutely on fire with new games that play on MiSTer FPGA, and obviously, even though it's not a video on this, they also work on Analog Pocket. Just be aware, if you're not a member of Jotego's Patreon, these are still beta games, so you do need to have the beta key to be able to play these, and you do need to turn on the Jotego downloader in your update all script to make sure that these games do come down. But otherwise, you should definitely be playing all the new Namco System 1 stuff. But I would say, of all the games that we got outside of Splatterhouse being one of my favorites of all time, March and Maze in May was one of my favorite things to see. But short of that, that's the updates. We have 3 new Namco System 1 games that go along with all the other Namco System 1 games we've already gotten, and that is always a fun time. And it seems like I said earlier, System 18 from Sega is next on Jotego's list, so maybe we'll be talking about that soon. But short of that, run, don't walk to update all. Make sure you get all these chords down, and definitely play March in May, one of my favorite games on the Namco System 1 board, one of my favorite arcade games of all time. But we're done, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.